Now we start the second part of my interview with Agerbak, General Secretary in Badminton Europe. What about, we have a medal and has just been handed out, gold, silver and bronze medals at the European Championships in Huelva. There's a front side of the medal, but also a back side of the medal. So if we turn it around and say, okay, what do you see from your perspective recognizes a person who is not mentally strong? The opposite.
Yeah, I mean that's a little bit like how do you then approach the challenges that are coming your way. It's like if you are you a little bit like giving up or saying this is too difficult, or if you start to blame everything around you rather than taking responsibility yourself in the situation. I would say that's more in that direction, right? So again, it's about how do you approach these situations. But I would say mentally weak, let's say, but I mean it's like there is today, I mean, a lot of people that are having a diagnosis, or I mean it's almost the norm today that people, and that's about mental health and so on, is so for me it's not about weakness as such, but it's about how can you, I mean, what is the mindset you go into when you're facing issues, and are you trying to take responsibility, and sometimes that's difficult, especially if you are not really comfortable in certain situations. It can be difficult, and sometimes you need help also to overcome those difficult times. So I mean, I guess my point is a little bit that we are all struggling with being mentally strong all the time, and nobody's mentally strong all the time, and sometimes we need help. But if you can get into that zone, let's say, where you are able to tackle the things that comes against you, and start to know yourself and find ways how to approach when things become difficult, that's when life probably becomes a bit easier.
How you mentioned earlier that you see yourself playing a role here as a General Secretary in regard to your employees, that you want them to work independent or create an environment or a work base that you have to do these tasks, and I'm sure you can do the task. What about asking for help? Because that's really, really interesting. Also, when we talk about being mentally strong, I had Anna Madsen as a guest, who was a Danish national champion, won the championships in mixed doubles under 19. And she said one of the things that recognizes a mentally strong person, but also good advice if you want to become mentally stronger, is ask for help. So how is it here in the headquarters of Badminton Europe about it? Is that's the way we do things, ask for help, or no, I want to fix things on my own?
It's a good thing, and I think that's a little bit about what culture are you able to develop, and it's probably also different within the different functions that we have. Because you can say, for instance, in the events team, I mean, there's really not room for too many errors, because we cannot have wrong draws or something like that, because it's very measurable and people will immediately come back to us and tell us. So there needs to be in that area a sense of perfection. But it's still about how do you then, because errors will happen anyway, but it's more like how do you then approach it, and that's where I think we have had over time also here in the office some issues, with how are mistakes being handled by people, where it was maybe sometimes criticized or I mean internally between people and so on, and frowned upon, where for me it's very important that we can be open about it when there are some things that is not going right, so that we can correct it and we can learn from it. But it's something that I can still see that people are not freely coming forward when something, you know, goes wrong. Even though I would encourage it, and I mean, my style is not one of being, you know, or scolding people or being very negative. It has to be. I mean, it's very seldom that I need to raise my voice or be get angry or and I don't do it because of mistakes. Then it's more because of the reaction to the conversations we are having around the mistakes when people are then neglecting it or not trying to find solutions or not acknowledging or, you know, trying to hide and so on. Then that's what I don't like. I mean, you should be able to acknowledge that, you know, mistake happened. What can we do so it doesn't happen next time? But it's a lot about what culture do you have, and when it happens, how do you approach it?
Yeah.
Because mistakes will happen again and again and again, but we shouldn't do the same mistakes again and again. Then we need to find out what is the structural problem behind that.
Yeah. And you communicate the world is your working area, because you are definitely Europe for sure.
Yeah.
But so you also experience many different cultures. And how many nationalities do you have here in the office?
At the moment, I think we have 7 or 8 nationalities.
Yeah. And how do you? Some companies talk about we have our values. You could see them here on the wall. It sounds so good. Respect each other, open-minded working facility, and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
How do you live that? I mean, with 6-7 different nationalities, and I learned that in school, and the previous workspace I had, we did this and this and this.
Yeah.
How do you do that on a daily basis? Make sure we run in the same way, maybe not at the same pace.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It's a difficult one. I mean, I think it's a lot about respect. I mean, how do we respect each other? How do we talk to each other? And of course, it's also about how much are we together? Actually, I mean, you can. For me, it's a little bit being challenged today by we have less time together as people in an organization, because I mean, in our organization certainly there's a lot of traveling, people outside of the office, but we're also having, you know, an increased number of working from home days, which means that often we are not together. We can be in the office very few people, even though we are 15 people working here. Sometimes we can be 3 or 4. Yeah. And you don't have many of those situations where you're all together and where you are. So for me, it's a lot happening around the activities when we are together around a specific project. I think then we have those conversations about, you know, how is this being performed, that being performed. What we also do here is we are meeting bi-weekly and just going through what is going on in the different departments and giving everybody a voice. Yeah. And then we try to set up like regular meetings in the different functional areas where we can discuss again and let people explain what they are working with and what the challenges that they have. Yeah. But else it's for me the key word is kind of respect, and you know that you have that open door policy. Can always come and talk if there's something big or small. And then that everyone knows that, you know, that you are accessible and that you are always there and willing to help, and that you're not judging, but you're basically supporting. Yeah. Great. But it's fascinating with many different cultures, and it definitely is different how you need to handle certain aspects towards different nationalities with that cultural background that they have. Yeah. So you need to feel that a little bit of where are they and how direct can you be in certain situations, not to offend them or not to kind of scare them away when they come with things. And you can see some really have difficulties in just coming and sharing when they have issues with something, but you can see that maybe a particular task takes very long time, but you can see it's because they didn't actually come and take advice, and then that becomes the discussion. I mean, you need to come forward and discuss things so that we can help you to become better actually in managing the tasks that you have. Yeah. But it's not natural for some cultures in particular. Yeah, I could imagine that, or also from my experience, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And that also,
You mentioned also your daily workload or weekly workload has changed because now the HR is playing a bigger role compared to 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I could imagine that you would spend more time on being a personal manager.
I would like to, but
Okay.
I would like to. But the thing is, I'm a little bit stuck in between, right? Because of course, I have a lot of communication with the board members. So I have that critical responsibility.
Yeah.
Then I have the staff responsibility.
Yeah.
But then I also have quite a number of tasks that are still with me of administratively, let's say.
Yeah.
So it's for me it's a question of managing that time in the best possible way, and sometimes I feel that I have too little time for particular areas, but it's like just being aware of it and trying to so that other times maybe you compensate, you spend a bit more time in those areas because at the moment you're just very busy with sorting out other areas. So it's like balancing it over a period of time to try to see if you can make sure that you spend enough time on all aspects of the organization. Basically.
I could imagine that could be a challenge because there's a lot of tasks on your desk. How good are you at taking care of yourself and not working too much? Because as a general secretary, I imagine you're a role model for your staff, and the board members need you available, and you've just been in Huelva, and soon you'll be going to the Thomas Huber Cup in an annual Badminton Europe meeting. How do you charge your batteries?
Yeah, I mean it's true because it's my role is it's a little bit of lifestyle in to a certain extent, just like your role, for instance, I suppose. For me, it's quite important to be available, and at any time. I'm also working with volunteers. My board members are volunteers, and they have a daytime job, so it means that sometimes I need to be available also at off hours. How do I take care of myself? I mean, I try to stay physically fit. I mean, I think is very important. I feel much better when I'm also exercising and playing badminton still once or twice per week, going a little bit to the gym. I think that's important. I like to spend time with my family. I like actually just to be at home. I'm traveling plenty with my job, so just being at home and having a nice relaxing weekend, which now often is being in the badminton hall anyway, because both my kids are playing. But anyway, just to be with them and with my wife at home, for me is like is where I kind of charge the batteries.
And dear listener, remember that to charge your batteries. I haven't asked Brian about whether he has been hit by stress, but have you had some periods where now my workload is too high, I can't focus, I need to have
Actually, in terms of stress, no, I haven't been hit by stress. There's been difficult periods work-wise, but I mean my approach to stress, and I mean that might change because I can see people around me also being hit by stress, where I felt, okay, where did that come from? But my approach is often that I look at things that I can control. I put in one category, and I mean those I can manage, and sometimes it's a question of putting in a bit more time, but then I can manage that. There are things that I can't control, and those are the things that will, in my view, will stress you. And that's where I need to make a very clear distinction, so that the things that is outside of my control, I cannot let them stress me, and because I cannot influence them anyway. And once you acknowledge that, and then you can say there might be a communication piece towards other people to say, I have these issues, these things need to be solved, but I cannot solve them because this and that reason, which is outside of what I can control. I've tried. I think as long as you can make that distinction and that you are clear in that towards yourself, then you're left with the things that you can control, and those are the ones that you need to manage, and that's where sometimes you need to put in a few more hours to make sure that it's dealt with. like next week we're having the congress in Horsens for all our members. We just came from Spain, so it's a very, very congested period now. So I'm working more hours in this period than I do normally. But then on the other side, then I need to recoup a little bit. But here, the things that I can control, I'm spending a bit more hours on them, but then I can also manage them.
That's a good insight. Only focus on the controllable, and what I can't control, put it aside or make other people take care of that.
Yeah, or at least, I mean, you can make some, of course you put them on your radar, but write them down so you know that they're there. You know what are the next steps in order for you before they come into your controllable field. Somebody else has to take some action. Of course, you can send those reminders. That's what you can do, but you cannot provide the answer, for instance. Then leave it in that folder until they become controllable for yourself.
Great. Thank you for that tip. Brian, we have a question. I have a question here that sounds like this. Now I would like you to give the listeners 3 good tips if they want to become mentally stronger, which you described as having a solution-oriented approach instead of no, it cannot be fixed. Trying again. So if I am listening to this podcast and hey, I want to be more mentally strong, more successful, be a better leader, how would the 3 advices sound?
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's about consistency. It's about when things hit you, then be mindful about how do you approach it. What position do you take towards the issues that are facing you? Because I think often it's a choice. You can choose. How am I going to tackle this? Am I going to give up or blame other people, or I'm going to try to take responsibility bit by bit and trying to solve the problem? So I think it's about how do you approach that. So consistency is one. I think it's about being, be honest to yourself about your strengths and your weaknesses, so that you again understand, what is it that you can and cannot do, and then accept if there are things that you cannot do. But be honest to yourself about your abilities. And then it's probably more about keep being curious, I would say, because I think I mean, I believe really in lifelong learning. So I think it's about being curious and build on your knowledge. Keep learning from other people. Keep learning from podcasts or from reading, or take inspiration where you can, and widen your horizon.
So consistency, be honest, and be curious. Yes. Have you had in your life so far some inspirational persons or through your career that really had made an impact on you and your mindset?
Yeah, but there are probably too many to mention.
To mention. That's okay.
For me, I take, I can see a lot of things. I mean, many people you meet, you take bits and pieces here and there. You see who are performing well, or doing well, or good in certain areas. I mean, I think I see a lot of that, but I mean, I cannot say there's like one person that's just like an inspiration. So it's more like this person is great, how he or she is handling that one, or that other person is very good here. So I think it's more like, again, just being open to kind of learn, or to steal from other people kind of what they're good at. So for me, it's not in one place, it's one person. So it's several people, but it's again also just reading, listening to podcasts and so on, and trying to see where can you gain knowledge. Dear
listener, I'm nodding. I'm so much agreeing with what you say, right. Not that we have the answers here, but to us it works for sure. This thing about being curious and that approach there. And I have several persons, just as you describe it to me. Oh yeah, there was this guy, there was Peter, and I stole this from Katja and that sort of stuff. Yeah. Great. Time is flying, Brian.
It is.
We have been speaking for so long time. It's been really a pleasure. There is a few questions we need to hear what you say to.
Okay.
Now we go back in time. Now you get to give your younger self a piece of advice. So if you could go back in time and give the younger Brian a good advice, how would the advice sound? And which age do you have at the time where you think that would be relevant?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been a question, I think, of you have to believe that you're good enough, right? Because I think, especially in the younger years, you're very focused on what do other people think about you. And I think that's where you have to believe that you have to believe in yourself, you have to believe that you're good enough, and you should not worry so much about other people's opinion.
Yeah.
Because very often people get too influenced by that.
Yeah.
And I think that's that can turn into real struggle.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you put an age to it, it's probably teenage years where I guess that it's a common factor with a lot of people, that they are like trying to define themselves, but they're defining themselves by mirroring other people, but then also really are very cautious about how other people perceive them. And I think if we can be a little bit less worrying in that sense about what other people think, and that would be my advice to myself at that time also. Like, just do the things that you believe in. Yeah,
just do the things you believe in. You're good enough as you are.
Exactly.
Really good advice. We jump into the future, because now you get the chance of giving your older self a piece of advice. So how old would you be, and how would the advice sound when you think that's relevant for me to have this advice?
Yeah, but I think the advice, I mean, we can put any age to it from now onwards. But I think it's about staying physically strong, which means, you know, investing in your fitness. I think that's important, but it's connected also to the mental health, because that's similarly important, that, you know, continue to learn and to widen your horizon, and stay open-minded. Really, also when I get a bit older, you know, that I see different. That I'm not like stuck in a certain way of thinking. That I stay open-minded in terms of, you know, other people's opinions and so on. Yeah. So it's a little bit a few things, but it comes down to open-minded basically, and also staying mentally and physically active.
Yeah, that's good advice. Also relevant now. Here I hear you say, and you're doing that already.
Yes,
that's great. We have to stop here, because you have to prepare for the Congress in a week's time.
Yes. In
Horsens, where the Thomas Juve Cup have to start. And you, listener, probably you have something else to do than listen to Brian and I. But before we stop, who would you like me to invite to have a conversation about being mentally strong?
Yeah, I mean, I've been thinking about that actually, because you did mention to me that you would be asking that question.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that you've done a lot of these podcasts, so I was trying to think about who might you not have spoken with already. So I look back in time a little bit with people that I met in my earlier badminton career. One of them is a guy called Mads Skovlund Pedersen.
Yeah.
He'll probably be very surprised that I mentioned his name, but I like for me he's very motivational. Yeah. He's a very good storyteller. And he very eager badminton enthusiast, both player as a coach, but he also taken it way far in his professional life. Bank director of Nordea until recently. Yeah. So I think he would be interesting to maybe have a talk with him about his also professional journey from badminton and maybe how that helped him.
Yes, great.
And another guy I thought about was Paul Broberg, who works for the Danish Olympic Committee. He's also a vivid badminton fan and a former player, and of course now works a lot with sports policy and so on, which I think he's also a very interesting guy. So maybe could be worth to reach out to him as well to see if he was interested in joining your podcast here.
Great. Mads and Paul, we will reach out to you. Thank you. Here at the end, because you prepared very well, and before we went on, we talked about this, and you said, there was a lot of interesting questions, and what haven't we talked about that we need to talk about before we say have a nice day to the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about quite a lot. We haven't gone that far in. I mean, we stopped somewhere in 2013 in terms of the history. So we have another 13 years to go. But that has to be another time.
That has to be in the next episode of the podcast.
Yeah. But I would. So I mean, I don't know if there are any stones unturned here. Actually, I think it's been an interesting morning, and hopefully the anecdotes have not been too many. But it's been, there's been some interesting things happening, especially in the earlier part of my journey here with Badminton Europe.
Yeah. And it's been a pleasure listening to, and that's why I forgot the time. So thank you, Brian in English, for participating in this episode of the Mental Winner podcast.
Thank you, Barney. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And to you, dear listener, we wish you all the best. And if you don't know a lot about badminton, then start to explore it in the Badminton Europe app. Could be a good place to start, or just go down in your local badminton club if you haven't played badminton at all, or haven't been playing badminton for many years, or just watch it on the channels wherever you can meet it. Take care, have a nice day, and next week there will be a new episode of the Mental Winner podcast.